help some people today, okay? I'm gonna tell you how everything really is. Number one, I'm gonna tell you that nobody out there on planet Earth has it all together, okay? So your imagination will tell you that you're the one who's suffering, you're the one who's going through a hard time, you're the one who is one step behind the ball, and other people are getting breakthroughs and victories and mountaintops and riches and glory, and you're left behind. I'm gonna tell you that that's an illusion and that's not true. So many people, like that's not, like I'm gonna tell you, so many people are suffering with you, almost on the same levels. That's why we have to communicate more. We have to be real. We have to be vulnerable. We have to be able to put our business out there so that we can help each other, man. I used to go to these connect groups back in the day, and what I would hear in the connect groups is that, people were suffering in silence. Uh, a bunch of different habits, a bunch of different things, mental illness, etc. But on the outside, they look perfectly natural and normal, just like anybody else. So don't go by appearances. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is that I want to relate it to the caterpillar going to the butterfly. And, you know, there's a process to suffering. And when you go through hard times, enough of it, it will break you out of your mentality, break you out of your defenses, your understand that with pressure, enough pressure, you break out of your comfortability. So when you, in your own mentality, in your own life, you conformed into something that is comfortable and this and that. Like, how do I put this? um, so like in terms of your mentality, in terms of like your rituals, your daily activities and whatnot, some people get very comfortable just not doing much with their life. And so if there's any kind of heartache, if there's any kind of things that are hard, they're caught off guard, and then all of a sudden they fold and under the pressure, so to speak, and they say life is so hard, etc., etc., etc. But I'm just trying to tell you that life is like that for everybody. And so there's certain people out there that they put themselves in uncomfortable situations just to be able to be calloused enough for life, because they understand that life is a teacher, and the teacher here of life is trying to tell you that perhaps, just perhaps, you've been programmed into thinking that life is a certain type of way. If you think about the cavemen back in the day, they had to survive off of killing food and eating it, just like Animal Planet. There was other cavemen that wanted to take their food. Everybody was hungry, and they had to be like survivors and whatnot. There was no playing Xbox and air conditioning back then. But that's the same type of human that you are. Like they were no different. They had the same brain, the same hands, the same feet, the same everything. But what has changed from then to now is simply we've become a lot more comfortable with the just all the gifts and all the, we've come far from that time. So anyways, if we were to get attacked by, say, Russia with this thing called EMP, electromagnetic pulse, in which case we don't have a defense against it, that would attack all of our electricity, that would attack all of it. Like nothing would work. Nothing would work. The cell phone would shut off, satellites would go down, everything that runs off of energy would go down, and you would go right back to those caveman days, quick, fast, and in a hurry, in the snap of a finger. And so it's really possible for that to happen. But I'm just trying to tell people that life has always been hard. It's not picking on you personally. It's just hard. And so what you could do is you could always be playing the victim, so to speak, almost like I just want it to be easier, or you could do the opposite and just become harder, become tougher, become stronger, become and learn from it, or learn from. Sorry about the noise in the background there. Learn from it all so that you can understand that life is different than what people paint it out to be. That's the first thing that I really want to say is that life is different than what people paint it out to be. And so if you're looking for life to be, um, there's a lot of illusions out there. And so like a lot of people paint pictures of them smiling from ear to ear and just wilding out and stuff like that. So you're looking for stuff like that because you're thinking that you're missing out because they have something that you want. And so there's a lot of like misdirection in terms of what life really is. You know what I mean? People are pointing in this direction over here, and they're painting pictures and facades and mirages about what life is to them, and it's all an act. They just want you to think of them like they have a better life than you. It peaks at jealousy and envy and all that kind of stuff, and the devil uses it um, because he plays with your emotions. He makes you feel like they got a better life than you. When in reality, under the sun, under this sky, under this blue sky, they go to the same beaches that you go. There's no different beaches, right? A beach is a beach, and food is food. Yes, there's some food that tastes better than other food, but in the end of the day, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the illusion that they have this grand, special, glittered life that is just wrapped up and they don't suffer and they don't have any trouble and everything's always gold labeled champagne and this and that. That's just a lie. That's not true. Excuse me, because I'm sick. So let's pop the illusion on there. They suffer. Drake and all these rappers, they suffer from insecurities, voices in their heads, sadness, depression. No, but they're rich, they're famous. They don't suffer from those things. Yes, they do. They're human. They have um, loved ones that are passing away. They're going through grief. You know, they go to the doctor. They get bad news. You gotta stop eating this. You gotta start drinking that. Here's this medicine. They're human beings, and everybody has to understand that these illusions paint out these people to be gods, so to speak. Like the gods among the little peasants. It's not like that. It's just they're not. So I think in the end of the video, I just really want to just say that we all suffer, and you have two options. One, you can look at life like you're too hard for me, or two, you can outgrow yourself, outgrow your mentality, outgrow your circumstances, become like an owner, and be like, all right, you're gonna treat me like this, then what do I gotta do to overcome this? How do I become stronger than this that I'm facing, right? And that is how you become a man if you're a boy. And that is how you become an adult that's responsible, that you understand that, you know, unfair things happen every single day of your life. That's not fair. If I tell you what unfair looks like in my life, you would just like, whoa. And you know what? In the beginning, you don't know any better, so you complain. You might even cry. You might kick over a trash can. You might complain to God, and all those things. But after a while of life treating you the same way, and the same way, and the same way, and you start to understand that he's like, maybe it's meant to be this way. Maybe this is the way it actually is, as opposed to what people are telling me it's like. There's a lot of false illusions out there. There's a lot of misdirection out there. If you tell me I'm trying to get to the gas station, and I point to you, I say, "Oh, go north, go 15 miles this way," and I lead you to a dead end, you're never gonna get to the gas station. And that's what people are doing with life. telling you the truth about how life really is. And how life really is, guys, I'll tell you, it's got its like little moments of happiness and whatnot, of bliss, but it's unreasonable to try to make a life out of those little moments. In other words, life is a journey of sadness and happiness, and a lot of it comes from just being content. Man, I promise you, if you can find a place of being content, just looking around and just saying, you know what, I have a house, I have air conditioning, I have a TV, I have, a lot of, I don't have everything I ever wanted, but I have enough, and you just being content. And the other thing I want to say is that if you were to go back, uh, a few hundred years, do you know? Because it's all about perception. It's all about tweaking this up here and perception, right? Do you know that you're living better than kings and queens a few hundred years ago? Because when I say king and I say queen, your mind, the way we've been programmed, is like, oh, they're royalty. They're royalty. They have it all. They live at the peak of mankind. Do you know that you're living better than they lived a few hundred years ago? You know what I mean? And so, like, the water that they would drink, as an example, would be coming from a lead pipe, and they would get sick from it, as an example, right? And like, they didn't have air conditioning. So they were living in a humid place, even if it was nice, even if it was decorated and painted in a palace or whatever, it was not. It didn't have cold air blowing. It didn't have refrigerators. So it's like flies all over your food and whatnot. You know what I mean? And so think about that kind of stuff. You're living better than kings and queens if you go back in time now. And so how does that make you feel when I tell you that? Well, it makes you feel grateful, and it makes you feel it's a tweak. But the same thing is true if I tell you that there's rappers out there and there's people out there that live in mansions, and you live in this one-story house, with two bedrooms or whatever, or an apartment or whatever. You're gonna say, man, I just, and you're gonna put your head down low because you feel like you're left behind and other people are living the life and you can't get ahead and this and that, and your life is not gonna ever be happy because you're always putting yourself in a position where it's like, I don't have enough, I'm not good enough, and it's a negative connotation about yourself and your life. So negative doesn't equal positive ever. So you just gotta tweak this up here. That's all, man. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Life is hard on everybody, and when you get that, when you understand that, then you'll make preparations. The same way you make preparations for hurricanes. When the weather channel tells you, hey, there's a hurricane coming, well, most of us, not all of us, but most of us prepare for the hurricane that comes. Hey, listen, you gotta right now prepare your mind and your heart for a phone call that says so and so just died. That's just the way life is, because you have an understanding that everybody expires on planet Earth. Everybody does. My dog, as an example, right now, my dog has cancer. Right, we've had Nala, that's her name, for about 3 to 4 years. Right, and it's been nice. She's dying. My kids are 5 and 7. You know, you can't be sidetracked with this kind of stuff. You have to have a plan of how to go about it all. I like the explanation you're gonna tell your kids. You don't want to traumatize anybody. At the same time, you want to be firm enough to tell them the truth. And as for the dog, you have to put boundaries so your heart doesn't get crushed every time that there's a failure or a tragedy. And so, like, my wife was telling me, she's like, I'm distancing myself from Nala in my heart because I know that she's leaving. And she's gone, she's passing. So I don't want it to sting so bad. So I'm distancing myself from her. And so these are the little preparations, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, to distance yourself. these are the preparations that you ought to do in terms of life. You ought to look out for the best route to take in any given situation. You ought to be prepared for what life hands you, right? Because often it's bad news, isn't it? If it's anything like my life, you often get bad news. You don't get good news. And I'm not saying that my life is bad. I'm just saying that life is like that. That's just life. And that's what I'm trying to tell everybody. Like, life is not mean to you, it's just hard on everybody. And that's why God made it into such a way where He wants everybody to mingle and be each other's friends and talk to each other and be there for one another, because that eases the load of life on that person's shoulders. But if we're all isolated and we're all trying to make a facade that my life is better than yours, and look at me and I'm just smiling like this and taking all kinds of pictures and making you feel a certain type of way, but as soon as the picture is done, I do this number and I'm like, all right, then what are we accomplishing? It's just nothing more than an illusion, right? The older you get, the more you understand, because your experiences start to pop illusions of life. You start to understand that there's nobody out there that that has anything more than you. Everybody's just kind of getting by, kind of thing. And the best experiences that we can have is having the human experience among one another, and that of fellowship and that of trying to help one another. But when that is twisted and that is thwarted into wanting to be mean to each other, then life itself is unbearable, because life is hard on its own. Plus, now people, the people that were supposed to help you through life are two-faced, backstabbing, shisty people that pretend to be this, but they're really that and this and that. That's when people start to look at life like it's a burden, like there's nothing here worthy to stick around. That's why I'm always making videos about Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ doesn't change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so whether you're having a good day or a bad day, understand that if you have the wrong perception about Jesus Christ, like that He's just gonna make your life super like comfortable and this and that, then you're already on the wrong route. Like, that's not what this is all about. Um, the more you walk the Christian life, the more you understand who God really is and what He's about, right? He's a rewarder, He's a blesser, He's a tester. He'll test your faith. He's he's one to want fellowship with you, a relationship with you. He wants to grow you, and in growing you, often there's challenges and hardship to grow you. And there's this whole thing about life, but life itself has a lot of vanity in it. The book of Ecclesiastes talks about vanity, and I relate to that book so much because I'm a deep thinker and I'm always thinking deep. What's the meaning of this? What's the purpose of that? What's the depth in this? Like, and in the book of Ecclesiastes says that everything's a chasing after the wind. You could chase money and riches and glory, but when you get there, it was almost like, I kid you not, it's like it doesn't scratch the itch that you thought it was going to scratch. It doesn't fulfill you. It just makes you chase something different. It's a chasing after the wind, everything you do under the sky. And the only thing that really matters in the end of the day is God and people. To help somebody brings you gratification. To bless somebody brings you gratification. It doesn't matter if it's a compliment or if you buy them a house or groceries, etc. To help somebody brings you something that the whole world can't bring you. It's something on the inside that is treasure, and that is what our life is supposed to be made of. A lot of different experiences helping people along the way of our life, and on the way, people help you, etc. And those little experiences make life worth living, right? And then at the same time, you connect yourself to God, and then you just allow Him to carry your burdens and to heal you when bad things happen, and to deliver you, to to bless you, to overflow, and this and that. And so that's where the fruit of life really is. But in anything to do with materialism, it really it leans over more towards the devil, and what the devil uses to try to bring you and reel you into what matters more to him. The devil tried to bribe Jesus Christ with the kingdoms of the world. He said, "Worship me, and I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world." And it didn't work on Jesus. It's like Jesus saw what would it gain, what would it matter to gain the whole world but lose your soul. You know what I mean? Jesus said that in the Bible. So the world itself is something that you can hold, but it doesn't do anything for you where it matters, where it counts, which is your heart, your soul, your inner being, where people try to find contentment and satisfaction and fulfillment. That's where things count. That's why people go on vacations, because on the inside they want to be fulfilled with good experiences and that bring happiness. That's why they go on vacation. And so I'm just trying to tell you that every day could be a vacation if you just follow the principles of God, which is to help people. If you help people in any kind of way, but if you put them a smile on somebody's face in any kind of way, then you carry a joy, that the same type of joy that somebody has when they go on vacation, when they're on their way, on the trip to going to getting to the destination. They have a certain type of feeling like, oh, it's going to be this, it's going to be lit, it's going to be popping, it's going to be fun, it's going to be this. But when they get there, it's often not what they desired. It doesn't match up to what they felt on the inside. It's like, we're here, it was an okay time, it was all right, but it wasn't to the peak that I wanted it to be. Often that's the case. And so life is a lot of those moments where you're chasing illusions, chasing the wind, but you never quite capture what you want. And I'm trying to tell you, it's in the simple things where you get those lighthearted moments. Those simple, sitting down with an old person and just listening to their wisdom can be one of those moments where you receive something like treasure that you hold on the inside. You get to learn something. That's a moment right there that's simple, yet it's profound, and it's better than going on vacation, because that right there is something that goes on it's a deposit that goes on the inside of you that you get to carry forever, and you get to utilize that for everyday living. So that's a good investment. And so, long story short, I'm just trying to tell you that you know the world needs you, and you need the people. And when I say the world, I mean people need you, and you need people. And so it's almost like that whole thing there is supposed to be one hand washing the other. That's what it's supposed to be. But even if people don't serve you, you ought to serve other people, because you're gonna get something out of the deal, and then God's gonna fulfill the deal. So you're gonna get a deposit from the person, like a smile, a hug, or a thank you. That's a deposit, like 10%, and God will give you the 90% of the blessing, where He overflows your cup, saying, "I see you," wink, wink. That's my kid, that's my son, that's my daughter, I'm proud of you. And you get those affirmations, and it gives you a pep in the step to keep on going and keep on doing good things. So I'm just going to tell you, like, good equals good and bad equals bad. There's an illusion out there that bad equals good and good equals bad. That's an illusion. That's just not true, right, guys? We know that much, right? So I'm just trying to say, I'm going to say this and that's it. I'm done. Life is, it can be figured out slowly but surely by how it treats you and how you can figure stuff out. But then tweak your perception on how it can suit you versus it destroy you before. rather than it weigh on you, how can you, you know, change some stuff to where it feeds you instead of it takes from you. You know what I mean? And that's when you break out of your shell. That's when you grow. That's when you become more than a conqueror. Is because you didn't allow the challenges of life to weigh on you and crush you. You built something that could hold the weight of life, so to speak. You created a structure, a discipline, a mentality. You decided. It's a choice. You decided I'm gonna overcome. And I'm gonna do it like this, this, and this, and then that's it. That's what life is all about. God bless.